when I'm thinking of self-trust, it's almost like, let me just do the least amount of effort to start, and then builds the trust.
I think showing up for yourself, keeping the promises you make to yourself, even if it's a little promise, is going to make all the difference in the world.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was episode number 1327. Are you always going to be run by a fear? Today, for episode number 1328, how to start building self-trust. So, I would consider myself somebody today who is pretty good at technology, and I am pretty good at sending messages and pretty good at sending emails and usually somewhat adequate at getting my points across when I'm trying to make a point. But early in the journey, when Alan and I first partnered up, there was a point where before I sent a client or a potential client a message, Alan would look it over. Before I sent an email off to an event coordinator or whatever it may be, Alan would look it over. We used to spend hours proofreading emails that we would send to mentors. It was pretty much like Alan was the professor and I was the student, and he would kind of look over my work before it ever saw the public light. And not in a bad way, in a good way. I feel like I needed that in the beginning. In the beginning, that was important for me because I didn't know how to write a efficient or effective email because I had never written one. I didn't go to college. In high school, I don't know. We weren't firing off emails. There was no reason to.
There was only one computer lab and,
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a computer.
Basic. Yeah.
Well, we had a computer at home. But so it's interesting looking back because I'm realizing that over the years, I was building self-trust. But the self-trust only started to get built when I moved away. I broke away from Alan. And it's like, hey, I'm going to send this email. And Alan would say, are you good? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm good. I'm going to send this email. Was I 100% good? No, not necessarily. But the word I want to use the three words, I started to have some confidence in my choices. So confidence in choices. I think when we equate self-trust to us, it's how confident am I in the choices that I make? So do I second guess every time I'm sending an email? Not anymore. I did for a while. In the very beginning, when I went from Alan proofreading to me sending it, it's like, this could be bad. This could be terrible. We might lose this person or whatever it is. If you're going to build self-trust, you have to start by saying, okay, I'm not fully in control here, but I also know that. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to get outside of my comfort zone and I'm going to take a risk. And I kind of think of it as when you ride a bike for the first time, unless you're maybe a bike riding G, for lack of better phrasing, you probably have training wheels. Did you have training wheels?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah, I had training wheels.
Yeah,
it's like, what does that help you do? It helps you build self-trust. It's like, well, I can pedal this thing. And then eventually, when you have a high enough level of self-trust, you take the training wheels off. And usually, you ride in the grass because you're probably going to fall. And then when you get comfortable riding in the grass, then maybe you go on the gravel or you go on the dirt and then you go on the pavement because you have a high enough level of self-trust. So last thing I'll say before I kick to Alan, when I think of self-trust, I think of recent and relevant proof. Recent and relevant proof. So say we're 3 years into this journey. I am sending a message to a potential client. This is my first time ever just freestyling it. I look at my most recent and relevant proof. Well, last time Alan helped me, he gave me the example of say this here, say this here. You probably don't want to say that. These are the things that work really well. These are the things that don't. Okay, that's my recent and relevant proof. Like I have that. Let me try that and see what happens. It goes better than I expect. Interesting. I just allowed myself to have a little bit more self-trust because next time I have recent and relevant proof that suggests I can actually do this on my own. And I think over the last 6 years, that's one of the things that has really, really benefited me is having you in the beginning kind of look over everything I did. And then eventually it was kind of like, all right, we're going to let Kev go off on his own. And I was talking to you about that yesterday, where one of the reasons I want to start another podcast, I think, is because I need to know I can do it on my own. I need to know I can be a strong interviewer on my own. One of the reasons I want to go speak on podcasting by myself, I want to prove to myself that I can do it on my own. And I think that's kind of the season I'm in, where I want to make sure that I actually do have a high level of self-trust.
You have a podcast growth. You are doing it.
But that's
You're out
different.
there doing it on your own.
Yeah, but I want maybe another show where I interview people.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Or you could interview someone on Podcast Growth You about podcasting. But again, we'll see. No. Not doing it.
I don't think I want to. Maybe you. But other than that, probably not.
Interesting. That would be fun. I would love to do that.
I'll see if I can pencil you in sometime.
Well, this week is pretty open. Dinner with me, I can't cancel that again. So Kev, you have a story about a man named Steve. Can you tell that story? Early on, I had
of course.
Let's just say in volleyball, what is it? You lob it up and someone else is supposed to spike it.
You set it.
Set it and then forget it.
Yeah. Yeah, we went to Arizona for a Brendan Burchard event. And at the time, one of Alan's mentors lived in kind of, I guess, somebody you knew that you had a good relationship with. He invited us over
for a time. Yeah.
He was a mentor.
Yeah, definitely.
He invited us over, and he lived in this mansion in Arizona overlooking Scottsdale, Arizona. Beautiful. Infinity pool. Beautiful. And he made us filet mignon. And we almost missed our flight because he took too long to make the steak. The steak was really good. So we end up going home, and then I don't know exactly how long after that it was, but Alan texts me and he says, "Hey, remember Steve? Steve wants to start a podcast." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Love that. I love that. All right, let me get on the phone with him." So I get on the phone with this guy who, again, is very, very successful, very, very financially successful, and that'll play into the story. So we have a call. And he's like, "All right, what do you guys do?" And I'm like, "We do this, blah, blah, blah." I said, "For what you're looking for, Steve, it's going to be $1,500 a month. $1,500. That's it. You're a millionaire. No problem. $1,500. That ain't nothing." And he says, "What about $1,000? What if we agree on $1,000? I'll give you 3 months up front. So I'll give you $3,000 right now. And I'll give you a plug on this show. So I'll say this show is produced by Jeff and Jeff Podcast Productions. What are your thoughts on that?" I was like, no, $1,500. Did you mishear what I said? $1,500. And I had consulted with Alan before that call. And we did like best case, worst case, most likely case. Best case, $1,500. Worst case, he doesn't work with us at all. Most likely case, if you do $1,000, you're going to be fine. I want to do $1,500. And then he ghosted me and hasn't talked to me in the last 3 or 4 years and will never become a client.
Which I advised specifically against. But but I prefaced it with what I always preface it with, which is I will honor your decision. Because at the end of the day, you got to make your choice.
I had to learn.
And to bring this back to self-trust, that's the key. Kev needs to make that decision and then deal with the responsibility and the consequences of that decision, both positive and negative. And in hindsight, obviously, that was a huge mistake.
Still searching for the positives.
Yeah, still searching for the positives, because that could have, helped us grow our business much more, help more people. It really would have been a huge win. But again, lesson learned, and now we've changed and we've become able to get our profit margins and profitability XYZ. We've grown a lot since then. When it comes to self-trust, what I want to share is, imagine, there's a quote that I've said often, and you might have heard it. And if you are a long-term listener, you definitely have heard it. If you're not, this will be the first time you've probably heard it. If you had a friend who broke as many promises to you as you've broken to yourself, how much would you value that friendship? And that's the frame that I want to box this episode in. If you had a friend who broke as many promises to you as you have broken to yourself, how much would you value that friendship? So if you do struggle with self-worth, if you do struggle with self-respect, if you do struggle with self-trust, that is why. And so this hypothetical is, imagine you have a friend who you promise you'll be at the gym at 7 a.m. on Thursday. And you two are going to, every Tuesday and Thursday, you're going to go to the gym 7 a.m. You're going to do it. And you keep saying, we're going to do it. We're going to do this. We're going to do it. We got this. And then you don't show up. And then the next time comes, they're sitting there literally waiting for you. And you don't show up. And you text them, you're like, no, this time I'm going to do it. This time I'm going to do it. I'll be there, I promise. And then you don't show up again. And then eventually this friend is like, screw this. I'm not doing this. I don't want to do this anymore. I think that is what's happening inside of us. And so we don't have enough trust in our own abilities in certain arenas. And everyone struggles with this in some areas. So Kevin and I have 1,328 pieces of proof that we will always show up on this podcast and that we will always do an episode a day. We have a lot of trust there. A lot. I'm struggling with the self-trust around writing consistently. Kev, I don't know what you're struggling with self-trust, but there's
Nothing, I'm perfect. Thank you.
Nothing. Absolutely perfect.
No, I'm perfect.
Of course.
Yeah. No, many things. I haven't done my 3 gratitudes and 3 goals in, a minute. Yeah. It just seems like impossible. It's not. It just does. I haven't built trust yet. No trust, no recent relevant proof. This is my recent relevant proof. Did I do it yesterday? No. Damn.
Yeah.
That's kind of.
Am I going to do it today?
Yeah, most likely not.
Most likely not. Exactly. Yeah. That's what it feels like to be helpless. It's such a helpless feeling. It's like you can't trust that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. It's the worst. And I know that I coach a lot of couples, and in relationships, that's a big thing. Emilia, I promised her I would take Tucker to the vet yesterday. And I know I took a little self-trust hit because I was 10 minutes late. And I was kind of like, so she had recording with Bianca. I was like trying to get Tucker and Tariel separated because Tariel likes to jump into the garage whenever I'm trying to leave, basically. Cats are curious. You know the deal. They want to get in every space all the time. And so I'm trying to get Tariel into Emilia's office. So I interrupt her while she's in flow. And then Tucker is kind of like tied on the leash in the front door, like next to the doorknob. And I'm like running late. She's like, do you want me to call them and let you know you're running late? And again, that's something that I struggle with too. And so anyways, I ended up getting there and I was 10 minutes late. So it wasn't that big a deal and it ended up going really well. But I knew too in that moment, it's like, she can't trust me to get it done without being a little bit late. It's like, that's a cred hit. Now, I still got it done. She still was super grateful. XYZ. No one's perfect and messy action's important. Here's my point. Coach a lot of people. There is no human being who has self-trust in every area. None. Every human being I've ever met or ever coached struggles with self-trust in an area. And usually they have an area where they have tons of trust. So for me, exercising 30 minutes a day, I have a ton of trust there. That's no problem. That's already done. In my head, there's no version of me not exercising tonight. It's not even, I'm going to the gym, I'm doing pull day, I already did my mobility, I already talked to Emilia about it, I'm super excited. Cannot wait for pull day tonight. I will be there. No matter what. I cannot promise you I'm going to write tomorrow morning. I can't. I didn't write this morning. It bothers me so much. One day I will get to the point where I write consistently and I finally keep the promises to myself and I finally have self-trust. And so I hope that the takeaway is 2 things. Number 1, you are not alone when it comes to this. It might seem like it because everyone's in their genius zone doing their thing in the thing that they've got that train rolling. They've had it rolling for years. So Kevin and I, 6 years of podcasting, you probably don't have the same level of self-trust that we do in podcasting consistently, nor should you. But I guarantee you have self-trust way more than him and I in something. Maybe it's doing dishes. Maybe it's cleaning the kitchen. Maybe it's making sure the bed is always made. I don't make the bed. Emilia usually does. So we all have a lot of self-trust. The question that you got to ask yourself is, where do I need more? And how can I build it small? Super, super small. Today I did mobility for 10 minutes. I'm supposed to do 30 minutes while listening to a book. Supposed to. I did 10 minutes, and that's better than no minutes.
Hello, my name's Eddie Pinero. I'm the founder of Your World Within, and I wanted to take a second and just express how valuable working with Alan has been. His ability to help me create clarity and maintain focus on my big picture goals has been huge. You know, he's been a huge asset with the roadmap as well. The day-to-day things, the little things that we sometimes overlook. I think anyone looking to, grow themselves, grow a business or both, would truly benefit from having Alan as an ally along the way. Again, great mind, but more importantly, solid dude.
It's been a very interesting couple weeks for me because, and I know you joked about it before, but my schedule hasn't been as crazy because we were kind of in transition of me doing less podcasts so I could be more available for Next Level Podcast Solutions. And so I was just kind of in this interesting transition. But the transition was very beneficial because I've been able to go to the gym at different times. Now, I know it's not forever, but like yesterday, when did I go to the gym yesterday? I think I went to the gym at like 10 o'clock yesterday because one or two of my podcasts or whatever I was doing got moved. It's like, okay, now I have 2 hours. I'm going to go to the gym. What I'm able to do now is I'm actually able to build, and this is kind of my, I don't know, I haven't flushed this idea out fully yet, but I'm considering it momentary momentum. Momentary momentum means you stack the odds in the favor of you actually being able to succeed, even if it's not ideal situation. So ideally, my alarm clock would go off. I would get up and go to the gym. That hasn't happened the way I want it to. Some days it is. But now it's like, oh, I have 2.5 hours between this call and my next call. I'm already up. I'm already awake. I'm already in momentum. Let me just go to the gym and crush it. And I told one of my clients this because he asked me, he's like, hey, can I ask you a question about fitness? I was like, yeah, what's up? He said, do you ever plan on not lifting heavy? And he made a joke. He's like, do you ever plan on like not doing bro bodybuilding? And he's like, I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean like, are you going to do kettlebells or body weight stuff? And I was like, probably not. No, I love lifting heavy. I've just always enjoyed that. And I said, something switched recently. I don't know how to explain it, but something switched. Like I've been having the hood on my head the whole time, sweating through my sweatshirt, like pushing through pain, loving the suffer. But I don't think it's because I'm doing it first thing in the morning. You know why? It's because I actually have the self-trust that I'm going to be here tomorrow. So I might as well crush it today because I got to crush it tomorrow too. I actually know I'm going to be here because I'm not hinging on if I don't get up and do it, it's not getting done. That's the interesting thing. Like, it's almost like for you, Alan, permission to give you advice.
Yeah, of course.
It's not really, but what might serve Alan is just change when you normally would write. Maybe you'd write.
Yeah. In my head, it's locked in that I'm never going to do it unless it's first thing. And
I know.
I just want to share this. So last night I watched a movie. We have a me date every Tuesday. So Emilia and I, we're still kind of in the same vicinity, but I'm doing my thing. She's doing her thing. And so I watched the Matrix Resurrection, the new Matrix movie, which I don't recommend, by the way. Just my personal, I love movies. I didn't love that movie personally. So here's what it is. But anyways.
How many Jeff stars does it get?
3 out of 5.
3 Jeff stars out of 5?
3 out of 5, yeah.
Not terrible.
Maybe 3. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. The Top Gun movie was awesome.
5 Jeff stars out of?
Yeah. Yeah, 5. Better than the first one. It's interesting because my expectations for The Matrix were higher, and I ended up being disappointed. My expectations for Top Gun was so low, and it ended up being really good, so I know that plays a factor. But anyways, my laptop, this is a new laptop, which I'm sure you've heard 1,000 times, because I'm so excited about it, but the battery dies quick because this is a very powerful laptop. And so because I stayed up a little later last night watching The Matrix, which I shouldn't have done in hindsight because it wasn't that good. I thought it was going to get better. And this morning, my battery had like no battery life. I woke up trying to write and it was 16%. And it's like, hey, your battery's about to die. Now, my charger, my only charger, is up in my office, which is where Tucker sleeps. So the moment that I go up here, I wake Tucker up. Now I got to do bathroom with them. So bathroom is what we call it in the house. And then my whole morning goes off the rails a little bit, right? So I need to wake up and write. But I don't know why, man. It's eat that frog, if you've ever heard the concept eat that frog. And this comes back to self-trust too. Brian Tracy wrote a book called Eat That Frog. He says, do the hard thing first when you have the willpower. Working out for me doesn't require a ton of willpower anymore. It used to require a ton. For me, writing is what requires the most willpower. I just don't like it. It's very hard for me. It's very challenging. And so that's what I'm trying to do first thing. Dude, in the evening, it feels like really hard to sit in front of my laptop.
Oh, understandable.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because it's like you can't let yourself off the hook with this stuff, but you also have to understand that willpower is a thing. It's like your phone battery. We haven't talked about this in a long time. I love this concept. When you wake up in the morning, your battery is full if you charge it over the evening. throughout the day, you make decisions, things go off the rails, you take Tucker to the vet, you end up, someone has poopies on the carpet, or you have to make dinner, you're doing all these things, you get a phone call randomly, you got meetings on meetings on meetings, back to backs, whatever happens, right? The garbage disposal's not working right now, and I don't know how to fix it, all these things. And you make decision after decision after decision, and your phone battery is just dying. Your willpower inside of you is just dying. And eventually, by the end of the evening, you're at 15% battery, and you're just going to end up eating ice cream or falling off your habits or saying, screw it, I'll do it tomorrow. Everyone is going to resonate with what I'm talking about right now. And I'm telling you, the peak performers that I coach, even the best of the best deal with this. Even the best of the best deal with this. They just end up doing a little bit extra, a little bit more. So instead of writing for 30 minutes, maybe they write for 10. Instead of doing mobility for 30 minutes, they still manage to get 10. Instead of not recording an episode, we end up hammering, a 15-minute one when it could have been 20 or whatever. So I think showing up for yourself, keeping the promises you make to yourself, even if it's a little promise, is going to make all the difference in the world.
It's almost like, and I've used this before, where all right, I don't know what this is called. There's probably a psychological framework or definition of this, but I try to convince myself not to do the thing that I want to do. So like I've said this before, when I want to get Taco Bell and I know it's like, Kev, don't spend $15 on, you have food, you can make it here, whatever. I'll try to unsell myself. Well, it's 10 minutes away. You're going to feel like garbage after. It's going to cost you $25. They might get your order wrong. You got to put shoes on. Like that's something I don't have to go out to my car. Okay. Now here's the problem. I could just get Uber Eats, but that's going to cost an extra $10. So I did that Monday night. Alan and I finished recording at like 6. And I told Taryn, I said, hey, I'm going to go to the gym tonight. I want to go to the gym tonight. Like I need to get back on track. I know I'll go because I'm already in the flow I'm already in momentum. I'll go. So I had to sell myself. I was like, oh, it's going to be packed though. 6 o'clock. My gym at 6 o'clock is an absolute nightmare. Mm-hmm. It is brutal.
Yeah.
Again, I understand this is like a very first world problem.
Yeah.
It's brutal. Everybody's there. Everybody's off of work. All the high school kids are in there filming all their workouts, and nothing against that. I used to do that as well. So I was like, well, you know what I'll do? I'm just going to go. I'll walk through the door, and if it's too busy and I can't get a machine, I'll just get on the treadmill. And I'll just get a half hour of cardio in. And then when I got there, I was like, I see a squat rack. All right, nice. All right, let me jump over there. It's just, I almost sold myself into doing less. And then when I got there, I was excited to actually be able to do more. Mm-hmm. So I think that's another way to, I don't know if it's a hack, but when I'm thinking of self-trust, it's almost like, let me just do the least amount of effort to start.
That builds the trust.
And then builds the trust.
The minimal promise that's going to build the self-trust.
The MVP. Minimum. Yeah. So in business, there's a minimum viable product.
Yep. We'll
do minimum viable, whatever the word is.
I don't know why you said MVP. Minimum viable.
Promise.
Yeah,
Promise.
Strong work. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Strong work.
For some reason, the second I started talking, I forgot everything I was going to say.
The minimum viable promise, that's fire.
I know that.
That's good stuff. That's almost as good as your $100 habit. We should do more episodes on habits, man. I love habits.
Well, I know, but there's only so much to talk about.
I know.
Again,
I'm just saying. This is good.
think, yeah, it is. It is. I think if you know anything about us at this point, we tend to do episodes on stuff that we're experiencing.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the best way to, it's hard to just pull something out of a hat and say, like, today we're going to talk whatever it is.
Minimum.
But if we're, go ahead.
Minimum viable promise. That's
good.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it?
That's a good one. We will use that.
I think that's a really good thing to shoot for.
Same.
You know, and again, we've talked about this many times. If you last year on January 1st, you set these giant New Year's resolutions and you didn't accomplish them, next year or the next time you set really big intentions, you're not going to have self-trust.
I know.
So I think you should break it into smaller things. I'm telling you, I think a lot of us have been convinced that we should have these giant goals and we should take massive action every day. I don't think it's real. I think it sounds really good on social media. I don't think it's applicable for most humans. I just don't.
For those of you listening, if you go to my Instagram or my Facebook, I posted a video of dominoes, the little tiny dominoes that stack on each other. And it starts out as this little tiny domino. You keep a promise to yourself, and then it knocks over the next one a little bit bigger, knocks over the next one a little bit bigger, next one a little bit bigger. That post, I think, is exactly how people gain momentum. And what I want to share with everyone is that I talked about how 6 years ago, Kevin started a podcast called The Hyperconscious Podcast. I had a podcast called Conversations Change Lives. Here we are 6 years later, and we do have momentum. But remember, we've lost momentum in many other areas. We will never lose momentum in the podcast. That's the most important thing we do. But we're doing MVPs, minimum viable promises, and a bunch of other stuff. Honestly. And I don't want anyone to think that everyone crushes it in everything. They're crushing it in their thing. It's very difficult to be good at a lot of things. Some of you out there are moms and you're crushing it as being a mom. Some of you are business owners, you're crushing it in business, but maybe struggling in fitness. Some of you are crushing your fitness game right now, but you know maybe you need to be a better husband or a better wife or a better partner. It's very difficult to balance all three. This is Health, Wealth, and Love, Next Level You. It's a different life. It is. It's a different life because you're consistently raising your standards in all three arenas, and it's very, very difficult to have momentum in all three. So I think minimum viable promise to build self-trust. Can you trust yourself just like your friend? The friend that you don't show up to the gym to, eventually the friend's never going to call you. The friend's never going to ask you to come to the gym with them. They're never even going to trust that you're going to show up. Are you doing that with yourself? Can you trust that you're going to actually go to the gym tomorrow? Can you trust that you're going to go to the gym tonight? Can you trust that you're going to, say your gratitudes before bed with your partner, or trust that you're going to write tomorrow like me, whatever it is? And I think shrinking it, minimum viable promise, and then building from there is key. And this is what I do with my clients. We don't take these big, audacious, crazy, life-transforming goals. We have dreams, which is 10 plus years. Then we reverse engineer the goals for this year. Then we reverse engineer the milestones for this quarter. And then we break it down into daily habits. And that's what my coaching is built on. That's what peak performance coaching is. And it's really the benefit of peak performance coaching. The benefit of habits is self-trust. It's self-belief. It's self-respect. It's self-discipline. It's self-love. It's feeling good about you. That is what matters. Because when you feel good about you, you can do more for others. You can become more. You can grow. You can challenge yourself. It's a really beautiful self-fulfilling prophecy. And then when you fall off, you go back to the MVP and you start building momentum again.
Yeah, the more consistent you are, the easier it is to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I know that might not make any sense, but it kind of is that.
It is.
Like there are things that you just will never miss. I don't ever miss tracking listens. I might miss tracking finances.
How long?
I don't. Well, when I say I shouldn't say that. Yeah, I've missed a day or two over the last couple of years, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But like, it's one of those things where
it's so automatic.
It's a decision, at least. I have to decide not to do it. Where like writing for you right now, maybe, or whatever it is for me, it doesn't seem like. I
decide to do it.
Yeah, same. So I think that's a really good, because the self-trust just isn't there yet. That's it in a nutshell.
100%.
100%. If you are looking to be more consistent, if you are looking to find a peak performance partner, if you are looking to help yourself build some self-trust, please join our private Facebook group, Next Level Nation. Link is in the show notes.
Also, if you want to build self-trust, group coaching is a perfect way to get around other people that are vulnerable about their challenges and that they share their strengths and their weaknesses. And it's a team of like-minded people. If you are someone who will show up for a team more than you show up for yourself, think of a sports team, think of, a club that you've been a part of, maybe student council back in the day, whatever it is. Will you show up more for others than you will for yourself? If that's the case, leverage group coaching. That's what group coaching is. No one wants to let the team down. Group 11 starts in 69 days. It is on July 11th. You can sign up now. All of the landing page is set up, and you can click the link in the show notes.
Tomorrow for episode number 1329, one simple way to be less stressed about money. Money is an interesting thing. We haven't all learned a ton about it, but we use it every single day, and a lot of us stress over it every single day. Again, myself included in many, many different ways. So make sure you check out that episode tomorrow. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Build that self-trust. Next Level Nation.